So just for anybody watching, I'm working through, this is still only my second time live streaming, so I'm trying to figure out how exactly to set up the streaming settings to get this to work properly. So just an FYI, I'm getting some error messages from YouTube, so I am trying to fix those now. The expected that's bizarre. Okay. Current resolution is 3840 by 2160, which is not supported for this configuration. Why would it not be supported? Okay. I'm aware, RK137. I'm 100% aware. I would say that that's actually part of my appeal, but yeah, I can imagine it would. You are the first person to you're the first person to comment in the stream, so why wouldn't it give you a crown? How are you doing tonight? I am stuck in my house on... Hi, Mark. How are you? I'm glad to have some pleasant people here with me tonight. Yeah, we have at least, I would say off the top of my head, we have about 6 to 8 inches of snow. I live on a cul-de-sac, so my street is not exactly prime plowing territory. So I don't know if we've talked about this, but like OPM, if you know, you know, but OPM is canceled for Monday already. So, I have no idea what is going to be my work situation when I log on in the morning, just because there may not be anyone to tell me what to do with my day. So I'm going to log on in the morning and hope that there is work to be done, but we shall see. But yeah, I shoveled my driveway earlier. Like I said, we have about 6 to 8 inches of snow. Put salt down, it was not effective at all, and I had to shovel a second time. So I'm stuck. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm not actually sure where you are local to. I feel like I should know that, but I don't. Is it not snowed heavy snow where you are? Annabelle, I don't know if I can walk the dog right now, and you should know better than to suggest that. Oh. Oh, wow. New York is really far for you then. I'm surprised that you make it all the way out. I guess that's a sign of dedication to your craft, I guess, that you would come to CanJam New York. For those who don't know, Annabelle is a real life friend of mine. So she's in here showing me some support, and she's referring to my dog, who is currently off camera. Let me see if I can... I don't know if my ISO is going to be high enough to really show him. Unfortunately. Never mind. My cable is not long enough to reach him, or extend the camera far enough away from my desk to actually show my dog. I'm so sorry, RKW137. I'm so sorry. I don't appreciate you enough, and my live stream would be going nowhere without you. So I appreciate that you're here. Yeah, absolutely. I meant to go out today with my camera to go out and take photos. But I worked on a video this morning and didn't get around to it. And then this afternoon I was busy listening to the Orchestra 2, which just got sent out to me by Lynn Soul. So I've been putting that through its paces. I'm actually pretty impressed by it. But oh, I didn't realize who you were, RKW137, but now I realize. I didn't know that was your username. But good to know. Now I know. I didn't realize that. I was wondering why you were being so mean to me, but that explains a lot, actually. Mark, what kind of camera do you use? That's something that I remember hearing that you were a big like Micro Four Thirds reviewer back in the day, but I'd be interested to know what camera you use for your videos. I am only going to be in New York for the night of the 6th through the 7th this year. I don't have the I don't have the budget this year. I'm taking a big vacation to Vietnam in February, so I don't really have the budget to stay in New York for the full 2 nights, 3 days, and I'll have to get back to work. But I don't know a lot about Olympus cameras, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm a Sony user. I have experimented. I'm very much. How do I put this? I am very much in a grass is greener on the other side phase with Lumix right now. Lumix Panasonic. I really would like to get an S1 II. And if I get a job that pays more than what I make right now, I probably will upgrade and sell off my Sony stuff, just because the siren call of full frame open gate is calling my name. And I really would like. I don't know what it is about open gate specifically. I think the aspect ratio is different enough from what I am used to shooting that it just has this like allure to me, and I can't. It's very frustrating to me that Sony has not gotten around to unlocking open gate on their cameras, or is holding it back for whatever reason. What are your favorite adapted lenses? So I have a Minolta f1.4. It's an MC 50 millimeter. It's an MC series 50 millimeter f1.4. That was one of the manual lenses that I used for pretty much all of my IEM photography, going into like my headphone reviewing career, starting in 2016, probably until I got my first like serious autofocus lens, which was the Sigma 30 millimeter f1.4 back in like 2022, I want to say. But all of my pretty much all of my IEM photography for like the first 5 years of my IEM photography career was done using an adapted Minolta lens. I've done some experimenting more recently with an adapted Yashica lens. I did a video I think you probably saw back in the fall, experimenting with the Yashica 50mm f1.7, and I didn't particularly like it. but I tried it with a couple people suggested in the comments that I should try it with a full frame camera, and that I wasn't fully appreciating the character on a APS-C size sensor. So I tried it with RKW 137's Lumix S9, sorry, full frame Lumix S9, and I published a lens test of that on the channel recently, which if you haven't seen, you should go check it out. And if anyone watching has not seen it, they should go check it out. But I definitely do appreciate the lens a little bit more after doing that test for video specifically. A lot of people do publish their videos in OpenGate format. I think that the ostensible appeal of OpenGate is that you can crop to either 16:9 or 9:16, depending on whether you're publishing on video or publishing on a traditional social media video format like YouTube, or you're publishing on Instagram Reels or TikTok or whatever. But I actually really like 3x2 as a deliverable. I thought I published my end of year recap was shot in 3x2 OpenGate, and I really like that format. I really like that aspect ratio, and I would like to be able to publish more videos in that aspect ratio. Something that I've thought about doing is picking up a anamorphic lens for doing a vertiscope vertical anamorphic specifically, because if you slap an anamorphic lens on a 16:9 sensor, I think if you slap like a 1.5 times squeeze anamorphic lens on a 16:9 sensor, but you have it oriented or rotated 90 degrees so that's stretching the image vertically, you actually get really close to a 3x2 OpenGate aspect ratio, which I'm really intrigued by. The only problem is that I am not very confident in my ability to pre-stage a manual lens to focus on me as I go to film a YouTube video. And that is that's my real hang up, is that I don't have a great way of being able to check critical focus on myself ahead of time with a manual lens, to be able to make sure that I'm in focus on a shot with a manual lens. This was a problem I ran into when I was trying to shoot my vintage lens test video a while ago, where I tried to shoot the actual footage for the vintage lens test video with the vintage lens I was testing, but I missed focus on myself just very slightly the first time I tried shooting the video, it ended up, I tried recording the video 3 times before it actually took, and I eventually just gave up and recorded the video with an autofocus lens, because I couldn't, the first time I missed focus on myself, the second time I forgot to actually start recording on my external recorder for audio, and it wasn't a good experience, and I eventually just gave up and started recording with the lens that I would normally use to record my videos. Yeah, I think that I'm a big fan of Cam Mackey's videos, and he's the resident anamorphic shill on YouTube, and I think I have to constantly de-influence myself not to get sucked down the rabbit hole of anamorphic and cinema lenses, and investing a lot of money into vintage cinema lenses to gain, whatever special sauce that is supposedly gained from using cinema lenses or anamorphic lenses. For me, I would love to get one of either the Sure or Blazar anamorphic autofocus lenses, but the problem there is that I then, because they are autofocus lenses, I wouldn't be able to use them. I wouldn't be able to use them to rotate them to do vertiscope, because I'm pretty sure that the electrical contacts on the lens themselves would not be able to be rotated in the same way as a manual PL lens. But I know that Viltrox recently came out with an autofocus PL to E mount adapter for Sony cameras that will actually, it has focus motors attached to this that you hook up to this PL to E mount adapter, and you can use manual focus, cinema, and anamorphic lenses with it. And I wonder if I could use that in vertiscope with my Sony cameras to take advantage of the autofocus on my Sony cameras while still filming in vertiscope. That's something I at least want to try. But again, that's, $700-800 for the Viltrox adapter, and probably another $1,000 at least new for the anamorphic lens, probably a Blazar Remus of some kind. And then I would need to, probably less. I mean, I occasionally see decent deals for Blazar lenses on Facebook Marketplace for $700-800. But again, it seems like a lot of money to invest on a theory, without somebody else proving that it would actually work. So, I don't know. I do agree that we do need to do a Lumix versus Sony contest. I don't know that it's a fair comparison, though, because I'm using a crop sensor Sony camera compared to your full frame Lumix camera. So what I need to put together in the very near future is sort of a Lumix S9 first impressions video, and that's coming up soon. I want to do that probably in the next few weeks. Is put that video together, just talking about my experience. Well, yeah, of course I would need to use the 50 millimeter lens. I wouldn't want to use, that's the only lens that you have. Well, so I have a 27 millimeter f1.2 lens for my Sony camera, which works out to, I want to say, close to a 40 millimeter full frame equivalent field of view on my crop sensor Sony camera. So that's close to 50 millimeters. So I would need to put those two lenses head to head, and I would say that those are both, modern, competent autofocus lenses. I don't know exactly what I can't do the math in my head because an APS-C sized crop reduces the effective aperture of an f1.2 lens on Sony APS-C by 1.5 times. So I want to say that brings it down to the same aperture as the 50 millimeter f1.2 that you have. So I want to say they are both the equivalent of f1.8 full frame lenses, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I would need to ask ChatGPT about that. So I'll need to do some research into that. But I think those would be two very comparable lenses. Would be my Viltrox 27mm f1.2 versus the Lumix 50mm f1.8s lens. So I would definitely compare those two lenses specifically. You do need to get more lenses, but that's a you problem, not a me problem. I don't have enough influence to actually... Oh, I think... Did I freeze? I think maybe I froze. Yeah, I forgot to actually connect the cooler to my camera, so I will need to find that and then attach that to the camera. So give me 2 seconds. All right. I think I'm back. So for anybody still watching who experienced the interruption of video quality, I made the unfortunate mistake of trying to use my Sony a6700 for this live stream without first connecting my Ulanzi, I forget what the model number is, but it's the Ulanzi camera cooler. And of course, this has happened to me once during an actual interview for something work-related where I was using my a6700 as a webcam for my as my like interview mic, and the a6700 overheated. So don't use the a6700 as a live streaming camera unless you have some sort of camera cooler, because it will overheat and your video feed will die. So Just bear that in mind. Anyway, I've connected my camera cooler with an external USB-C power supply, so hopefully we'll be good from here on out. I don't know how long I'm going to be streaming tonight. It just seemed like a fun thing to do. I was just watching Kofi Yuboa's live stream doing, and it inspired me to get on stream. So, I haven't tried any of the Ricoh cameras. I've heard so many good things and watched so many like adoring videos about them. So, but I just don't know how I don't think I would be able to live with the lack of interchangeable lenses. I think that limitation would be too much for me. I think that I don't know. I really think that like the whole appeal of shooting with a real camera is to have, well, one, it's having interchangeable lenses is reason number one for shooting a real camera for me, but also it's to have access to, in my case, DxO Pure Raw, and DxO Pure Raw's AI-based denoising capabilities, which rely on having matched lens profiles and matched camera profiles. So for me, I find that the results from DxO Pure Raw have, for me personally, for photography, have made the need for a full-frame camera superfluous, because I can just, for photography at least, I can just use DxO Pure Raw to denoise my photos with, my Viltrox lenses or my Sigma lenses, and it's fine. I don't need, as someone who does a lot of low light photography, I don't feel that I need the added benefit or the added light gathering capabilities of full frame, because I can shoot at like 6-digit ISO figures with my Sony a6700, and then denoise them in post with DxO Pure Raw, and they look fine. They look most of the time they look absolutely fine, and that's shooting at like f4.5, f5.6. It's absolutely manageable. I think that ISO, with the advent of AI-based denoising programs, has basically become a solved problem as far as photography goes. So I don't feel the need to upgrade to full frame based on sensor size alone, just based on the benefits that programs like DxO Pure Raw have given me. I'm sure that DxO Pure Raw does have profiles for the Ricoh cameras, but I would say that, like, compared to shooting photos on my phone, being able to use DxO Pure Raw is one of the main advantages for being able to use an interchangeable lens mirrorless camera. I'm trying to think. So I would have to like look back and see if I have any of the digital files from when I first started doing photography. But I believe that like junior year of high school, I was using, it wasn't an interchangeable lens camera. It did shoot RAW, but the digital camera that like my high school photo class gave me was like, it was some kind of Nikon. I would probably have to text my photography teacher from high school to try and figure out what it was. It shot in RAW, but it probably was more similar to, a Ricoh style camera than any kind of mirrorless camera. But my first camera was the Sony. My first camera that I owned personally was the Sony NX3N. Which is what I really learned photography on, and I had that up until relatively recently, because I upgraded. I used that for basically almost a decade, and then upgraded to the Sony A6400, and then upgraded again to the Sony A6700, pretty close to each other. So the amount of time I spent on the A6400 was before upgrading to the A6700 was much less than I spent on the X3N. But that was in large part a function of having a job that paid a decent amount of money for the first time, as opposed to being a broke college student. But I don't know. I honestly really regret selling that camera. To be perfectly honest with you, I sold it on eBay, I think, for less than $100 several years ago. The next 3N, I mean. And not only has the resale... I must have sold it at like a really bad time, because the resale value has increased dramatically since I sold that camera. And I would rather still have it. I would rather still have it on hand, to be perfectly honest with you, even if I wouldn't use it necessarily all the time. But it would be a nice camera to have around, maybe to lend out to people, or maybe do a full spectrum IR conversion, because I do night vision stuff pretty occasionally. And having a relatively disposable camera body on hand that I could do those kinds of modifications for would be really nice. I am probably too obsessed with the technical quality stuff. My whole thing is that I am absolutely willing to work around UI and UX handling impediments in the pursuit of better image quality. So I would say that we're kind of opposites in that, Mark. I would absolutely accept shitty menus to get better, like, technical performance out of a camera. And don't get me wrong, I like the menus on the A6700. They're definitely an improvement over the A6400 and the X3N. Those represent like three separate eras of Sony menus, and the most recent set of menus is definitely an improvement, like by a long shot. But I thought the menus on the A6400 at least were fine. I didn't have a problem with them. I made a whole video about this, but the reason that I upgraded from the A6400 was primarily the lack of IBIS and the terrible readout speeds, which made it basically unusable for video, at least in a non-rigged out state. What I realized later, after I bought the A6700 and then unintentionally caused some physical damage to the body, and I had to get it sent back to a repair shop to repair it. Thank God that it was still under my credit card purchase protection period for that camera, because the credit card purchase protection paid for the repairs, because I was an idiot and caused damage to the camera body and I had to get it repaired. But anyway, I had to go back to using the A6400, and what ultimately ended up happening is that I realized that if I really rigged out the A6400 with all of the things that I had bought to use as part of my A6700 rig, it actually was okay. It really solved as long as I was not really pushing it in terms of like whipping the camera around violently, the video quality was actually pretty good. Shooting in, I want to say S-Log2, not S-Log3, but S-Log2. But if I had it as part of a big, heavy camera rig, the readout and jutteriness solved itself for the most part. It wouldn't have been my first choice. I still would have rather had the A6700, but it was not terrible. So that's something. But the reason I upgraded in the first place was because I took the A6400 with me on my honeymoon to Norway and tried using it on a not awesome gimbal, and just the issues that I had with rolling shutter jello and general like shutter bounciness were just most of the video that I shot on that trip was unusable. So there are 3 generations of the Z6, right? Because I know that they have a Z6 III, I think, that is like the companion body. It's the same sensor as the new Nikon ZR, I think. So I didn't really start paying attention to Nikon's bodies until this year. So I don't know a whole lot about, yeah, that makes sense. Is that a full frame camera? Nice. Yeah, I mean, Nikon has come a long way. I think that I've consumed a lot of Nikon ZR content over the last 6 months, and it's really tempting. It's really tempting to jump over there. I think that the $2,200 price point for a Nikon ZR is really compelling. The things that scare me about jumping to Nikon are just the astronomical data storage costs.
I have a complaint.
You have a complaint?
Yes.
What is your complaint?
Snowed in means you can't get out the door. We got less than a foot of snow. You're not snowed in. You're just a pussy who lives in Virginia.
So this is my Minnesotan wife, who...
Snowed in means 3 to 6 feet of snow and you can't get out your front door. We're not snowed in. We're fine. We could get to the grocery store if we needed to.
If we really needed to.
If we need...
So we both...
We're not snowed in.
We both have...
FYI. FYI.
We both own Subarus. We both drive Subarus, so we have the benefit of all-wheel drive. But...
Just felt like I needed to point out the dishonesty in the title. I'll leave you alone.
Okay. Yeah, for real, Mark. For real. Olympus OM. Again, like, Olympus is a whole system that I just haven't, like, explored at all. But I think they have a lot of... It seems to me like they have a significant pedigree in terms of lenses. So I would be interested in exploring. If you have any video recommendations about like which OM lenses would be a good like starting point to research, I would be interested in that. I appreciate that, Mark. I appreciate the moral support. Yeah, like I said, we have about 6 to 8 inches. It's not a full foot, so it is what it is. I have no intention of driving in this weather right now, until the roads are significantly more paved than they are right now. Yeah, I don't. My quandary is that I have I have two Minolta lenses and two Yashica lenses. And the Yashica lenses definitely have more of a look than the Minolta lenses. The Minolta lenses are cleaner and sharper and generally more comparable, in my opinion, to a modern mirrorless photography style lens, which generally means that I like them more. But I also find myself like I don't want I want my lenses to be sharp. I don't necessarily want my lenses to be clean. I appreciate character, but I don't want it to come at the expense of sharpness, I think is ultimately where I come down. Yeah, that makes sense. In terms of like front filter threads and things like that. And like I mean I imagine that you're using these for photography and not necessarily like cinema rigging. So I don't know how much the like focus gears and like overall size of the lens would matter. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if I were to build out a set of like vintage lenses of a set of vintage primes as a cinema set, I would probably do the Yashica ML series, just because they do have a bit more flair than the Minolta MD or MC lenses that I have. I have two different Minolta 50 millimeter primes. They're both 50 millimeter. One is f1.4 and one is f1.7. One is the f1.7 MD, which came on the film camera that I actually learned photography on as a high schooler. And the other is a MC f1.4 that I pulled out of my photography teacher's like trash bin at some point during like an alumni day at high school, at some point after graduation, which is the lens that I used for most of my IEM photography as I was getting started. But again, I think that the Minolta lenses are not characterful enough to warrant building out like a full set of, if I were going to do that. But again, I feel like a lot of, and this was my experience shooting that video of the vintage lens test with the Yashica ML 50mm f1.7 with the Lumix S9 recently, is that I was very confident in my ability to get focus on static subjects. But as someone who does a lot of pet photography and pet videography, as you know, I have a dog and two bunnies at home, and I interact with a lot of animals through my social circle. I have one of the primary subjects that I shoot is pets, is moving creatures with minds of their own, and being able to keep up manual focus on them is tough. It's really tough with manual lenses. So like having autofocus is really important for me, at least. I have an Instagram. I have two Instagrams. I will put my like review Instagram in the chat, and I will message you on Discord for my personal Instagram, because I have a lot of photos posted there, just of random stuff. But my review Instagram is like a relatively recent creation. I'm still trying to be more intentional about posting to it. But I do my best. So I'm messaging you my personal Instagram, and then I'm gonna put the if I can figure out how to switch accounts, log into an existing account. That's not it. That's the wrong account. There it is. I'm gonna put my review Instagram. Why is it that? How can that be the wrong password? Hold on. Oh my god. Yeah. All right. It's literally just bedrock.reviews. For whatever reason, I can't log into it right now. But that's my like review Instagram page where I'm trying to post more of my daily photography and sort of non-personal stuff. But that's where that goes. So just bedrock.reviews is my newish review Instagram. I used to post a lot. So I have a Flickr account, but I used to be really into video game screenshot photography, which is most of what is on my Flickr. Like this was like a huge thing I was really into in undergrad. There are people who will write essentially hacks for games to trigger free cam in video games to do photography, and they will, hijack the game engine to enter free cam mode and takes artistic screenshots in game. And I did that for a very long time, and I took a lot of photos. I will see if I can pull up I think I have a lens dump account, which most of it got uploaded to because Flickr, as you may know, some years ago decided that they were going to impose a storage limit on their on your account, so that if you didn't pay for an upgraded amount of storage, they were going to prune your account and prune your photos. So I moved a lot of my video game screenshot photography over to Lens Dump. So I'll throw that in the chat. Oh, hey, Val. Good to see you. So this is... I just put the link to my Lens Dump account. It may not be everything. I feel like there's probably still stuff that didn't get migrated over from my Flickr account. But for whatever reason, I can't access my Flickr account. It's been so, I haven't logged into Flickr in so long. Oh, no, there's way more. There's way more. Hold on. I'm putting this in the chat. There's way more. What game are you going to be playing? Repo? I'm not familiar with that one. So, yeah. Oh, man. What ending did you get in Cyberpunk? I loved Phantom Liberty, and I ended up getting, maybe this is spoilers, but I ended up getting the ending where you give up Songbird to the FIA, and you get cured, but you lose the ability to get cyberware. So that was the ending that I got, and that was just a gut punch, man. Like there's no good ending to that game, which I guess is the point. But like, wow, it was just rough. It was really rough. Like oh man. So the first ending that I got pre DLC was the one where you storm Arasaka headquarters, but then you ultimately are unsuccessful in getting a cure, but you like move on from Night City with Pan Am, and you're like hoping that you can find somebody else, but you're still, running out of time. So that was the ending that I got through on my first playthrough. But the ending, then I got the ending that I just talked about, with essentially being like surviving, but being screwed over and no longer to being able to be who you became in Night City as like the ultimate merc, which I thought was just, a fate worse than death, essentially. But yeah, so I always just, I was really into there are a bunch of screenshot threads on like Reset Era, and before that, I'm really dating myself here, but there were a lot of screenshot threads, like an annual PC screenshot thread on NeoGAF, which is ultimate where I got started originally, was the PC screenshot thread on NeoGAF, if you remember what NeoGAF is. But that's where I got started. Yeah. But like, I've been, my next gaming, in theory, now that I have solved my GPU issues, I have had a series of GPU headaches over the last, basically since I upgraded. So I upgraded to a 9070 XT a couple weeks ago, and I've been beset by nothing but problems ever since. Part of that is due to, I think, my PSU was not powerful enough to handle it with all the other things that I have hooked up to my computer. So I upgraded my power supply, and that solved some of my problems. But like I talked about last time, I've been playing a lot of Arc Raiders, and I've been having a lot of crashes to desktop on match load up, just for whatever reason. But I by pursuing an all of the above strategy, I downclocked my RAM, I upgraded my PSU, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've turned off a bunch of things. I turned off ray tracing, and I finally, fingers crossed, have gotten Arc Raiders stable again. But we shall see. It's such a headache when like you're trying to play with your friends and like, oh, he crashed again, like it sucks. It really sucks. But I got a really good deal on the 9070 XT, and I don't want to return it. Especially with, the state of the consumer computer hardware market, and just the oncoming forced end of home computing that we are being forced upon us by our AI overlords, which sucks. But yeah, I haven't heard of it. I haven't heard of Repo. I'll have to look into it. The next thing that I want to do, the next game that I want to get back into playing, is Stalker 2. I got decently far into the story, but when it launched, but ultimately I gave up because, well, I got to a point where I essentially ran out of ammo on my main save and couldn't figure out a way to get more ammo, and I was like out in the middle of the wilderness. So I need to go back and see if I can salvage that save. But also, I was playing on a 3060 Ti, and it was not like, I wouldn't necessarily say that it was up to the task of playing that game. So with, in theory, more powerful GPU and a few months of Game Pass that I have access to, I need to re-download Stalker 2 and see if I can actually finish the game. But we shall see. Of course, the other thing that I've been doing is I got Morrowind running on my phone, so I've been replaying that too. But that's been a longer process. It's sort of, I picked up like a USB-C like clamshell style controller for my phone, and I've been playing, exactly, yeah, absolutely, so many games, so little time. But I've been playing, when I have time, primarily when I've been in the car for a long period of time, but somebody else is driving and I have my controller with me, I'll boot up Morrowind and try to get some gaming in. Morrowind was actually the first role-playing game that I ever really sunk my teeth into back in the day, back on the original Xbox. I think I talked about this briefly on my other stream, but like Morrowind was like my gateway into role-playing games. And so getting back into it on Android essentially has been really fun. It's been really neat. I need to like see if I can set up a save sync situation where I can have it on my computer and have the save files synced seamlessly between my computer and my my phone. But that's a project for another day. All right. It's good to see you. I'm probably going to wrap this stream up in probably the next 5 to 10 minutes, but I'm glad you stopped in. And I'm going to try and do this, if not necessarily weekly, but, Sunday seems like a good day to do these live streams. So I will, when I can on Sundays, I'll try and do this. Yeah, I had, like, I don't know if you were here for this earlier, but I have probably 6 to 8 inches of snow that we got here. So there's a lot of snow here. I've shoveled twice today. But enjoy the rest of your night. Peace. All right. On that note, I think I'm going to start getting ready for bed. So if you're here, I appreciate you being here. If you're watching this later, this is Bedrock Reviews signing off.